could tell you about Sir Duncan the Tall. Those were always your favourites.
Those weren't my favourites.
George R.R. Martin confirmed that Sir Brienne of Tarth is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall,
a knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
But we're not done with Sir Dunk the Long. Something clicked a couple weeks ago, and I know. A quick Google search revealed that other people realized this years before I did, but for me, this is new, and it's really cool. Old Nan is, in fact, a Frey. Or rather, the evidence that Old Nan is a Frey is much deeper than just the fact that Hodor's real name is Walder, like Walder Frey. So, here's my take. Old Nan is very old. She's Hodor's great-grandmother, and Hodor's nearly 7 feet tall, which is the same height as Sir Duncan the Tall. In Bran Stark's epic final dream sequence of the Winterfell Heart Tree, Bran saw a brown-haired girl, slender as a spear, who stood on the tips of her toes to kiss the lips of a young knight as tall as Hodor. As the theory goes, that was Old Nan and Sir Duncan the Tall. So that's the old stuff, which basically says that, just like Brienne, Hodor is a descendant of one of history's best, Sir Duncan the Tall. We don't know yet whether Bran will force Hodor to hold that door or not, but there's a chance that Hodor selflessly protects Bran, just as Sir Duncan the Tall allegedly sacrificed his own life in order to protect those he loved, the tragedy of Summerhall. Very cool. But now let's integrate the clues that Old Nan is a Frey, and thus, Hodor is also a Frey. The clues come from the third Duncan Egg novella, The Mystery Knight. In A Song of Ice and Fire, there are a few very old people, four of the most popular being the Three-Eyed Crow, otherwise known as Brynden Rivers or Bloodraven, Maester Aemon, Old Nan, and Walder Frey. George R.R. Martin has confirmed that the 4-year-old boy in The Mystery Knight, the boy who ran around acting like a pain in the ass at Lord Ambrose Butterwell's wedding, that boy was none other than our friendly neighborhood Walder Frey. The child had the most irritating laugh Dunk had ever heard, a high, shrill hiccup of a laugh that made him want to take the boy over a knee or throw him down a well. So that's 1 of 4. Let's keep going. In the story, Egg mentioned his older brother, Maester Aemon, and of course, Egg's cousin, Bloodraven, he played a really big role in the story. So of these 4 people, 4 of the oldest people alive at the beginning of the A Song of Ice and Fire timeline, Old Nan was the only one who did not appear in the novella The Mystery Knight. Or did she? In The Mystery Knight, Lord Butterwell was married to a 15-year-old Frey girl. That means the Frey girl was 11 years older than Walder Frey, who is just 4 years old in this story. Walder Frey was 90 in 298 AC, so that would imply that his older sister in the story, the Frey Bride, she'd be around 101 years old at the start of A Song of Ice and Fire. Does that line up with Old Nan? Yes, it does. According to Bran, Old Nan had lived so long, the Lady Cat had once told Bran that all the Brandon Starks had become one person in her head. But how old was Old Nan? She had come to Winterfell to nurse a Brandon Stark. According to the World of Ice and Fire, the king beyond the wall, Raymond Redbeard, he slew Lord Willem Stark in 226 AC. So at the very latest, Lord Willem's youngest child, Jocelyn, she was born in 227 AC. And her older brother, Edwyle, he was born in 226 AC. And that's at the very latest. He may have been born before then. Willem's first child, Brandon Stark, he was born to a different mother. So Brandon may have also been born as late as 226 AC, no later than that. The point is, Old Nan was said to have come to Winterfell as a wet nurse for a Brandon Stark, who very well may have been this Brandon Stark right here. If Old Nan was the Frey girl from The Mystery Knight, then she was born around 196 or 197 AC, and thus would have been at most 30 years old when this Brandon Stark was born, when she was his wet nurse. Basically, the timeline fits. Now, before we get to the fun part, let's go over the logistics. 3 separate times during the course of the Mystery Knight, or the Second Blackfire Rebellion, Dunk told people that he and Egg had planned to head north to Winterfell. And at the end of that story, Bloodraven allowed Lord Ambrose to live, but he took 9/10 of Ambrose's fortune and he pulled down his home stone by stone. So think about it. The Frey girl was 15 and freshly flowered, and her new husband, Lord Ambrose, he was 50, freshly widowed, looked at as a traitor to the crown, and homeless. So there's a chance that that Frey girl, the 15-year-old Frey girl, the bride, she may have rode north to Winterfell with Sir Duncan the Tall and Egg. We'll have to wait for the next A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms novella to find out. But here's where it gets fun. Humor me, and let's assume that that Frey girl is Old Nan. What do we know about her? First off, she was not a virgin when she married Lord Ambrose. Her little 4-year-old brother, Walder Frey, he had caught her hopping on the good foot and doing the bad thing in the Frey kitchen with the pot boy. So that's an awesome nod to Bran, how Bran barged in on Jaime and Cersei many years later. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Most fans assume that Sir Duncan Old Nan got down at Winterfell based off Bran's Hearttree vision, right? Well, during this story, Sir Dunk carried the Frey girl up to her room during the bedding ceremony. So we may have already seen the very beginning of Old Nan and Dunk's relationship. How cool is that? And one more thing. During the bedding ceremony, a dwarf leapt in beside the Frey bride and he grabbed one of her boobs.
So is this the sort of story that you like?
She then squealed and Dunk grabbed the dwarf by his collar and threw him out of the room.
4 pages for Sir Duncan. He must have been quite a man.
So they say.
Last but not least, if Old Nan was this Frey girl from the Mystery Knight, born in 196 or 197 AC, then that means that Maester Aemon was not in fact the oldest person in Westeros, because Old Nan may have had him by an inch or two, figuratively speaking. But yeah, that's the theory. Mayhaps Old Nan was a Frey.
What you telling him now?
Only what the little lord wants to hear.
Get your supper, I want some time with him.